Okay, to attach the throwing arm assembly, take your throwing arm and put it so it's over, back towards, so the trigger pin hangs down on top of the trigger. I know it's zoomed in a lot, but that's so you can see how this goes together. So you take off the nut and put it in your pocket for later. And then take off the two nuts that are holding the two pieces of the axle holder together as well. And put them in your pocket, don't drop them on the floor. Take off the one half and then put, make sure that's not in the way, put one of the A-frame bars, put the bolt through the hole. You have to twist it so that the hole is nice and straight. Put the bolt through the hole in the A-frame bar so that the A-frame sits nicely inside the pipe here. Then you put the bolt to the other one and then put the other A-frame bar through as well. This is why this will be easier with two people. Now that you have your two A-frame pieces, both the bolts through, take the other half of the holder and slide it on, and put the bolts through those holes as well. This is where it really gets annoying, because you have to throw them up flat so that the holes line up, but you also got to work. But once it's together, it works well. If you get one side in, then make sure you put the nut on. Don't drop it again. So you put the nut on so that it doesn't slide out again. So after much struggling, once both are in, put the axle nut back on, and then put both nuts on. And it's all lopsided and crooked now, but you just kind of force it together and tighten the nuts in as much as you can. And you tighten the axle nut. And once you get the other side in, it'll work out nice and straight. Now you repeat on the other side, and hopefully I'll get some better footage this time and you can see how to do it better. And again, don't drop the nuts on the floor. So you put the pieces in your pocket, and then you line up the A-frame bar, the hole with the bolt. This side should go on easier than the first side did. So you slide both bolts through, and then slide other half of the axle holder on, and again. Once you get one side in, make sure you put the nut on so it won't slide out again. And then you fight with the other side until it wedges through as well. And then you put the nut on that side as well. Then you just kind of work with it and push it and shove it, and slowly both sides will line up until the axle is nice and straight. You got to make sure that all the A-frame bars are pushed down entirely to the bottom of the pipes, or else it doesn't line up properly. So there's both the sides put on, and then you put the other axle nut on as well. Once everything's tightened up and aligned, the axle should be nice and flat and straight. Now that it's mostly assembled, I can actually zoom in and show you some better parts. So, it's all cracked and spaced, but that'll line out better later. So here we have the bolt that goes through the two axle frames and the A-frame and the nut on either side. And you just keep working with it until it sits nicely together, and you slide the nut closer and it all works out. And then same on the other side. It's all cracked and spaced, but now that both are on, the axle should be nice and flat. So they'll both be square, and you can push it over and slide the nut on, not off. And it'll line itself up. And then on the other side, you do the same thing as well. Okay, now that everything's all assembled, I can show you some key points. Make sure this is your safety. And we'll slide in and out, or maybe you're just building the safety now. So it goes in to one side, all the way along through, and lines up nicely, so the throwing arm won't fall down. And then over down here, throwing arm goes back, lines up with the trigger. When you zoom in on the trigger, I got all the rope in there now, so take out the trigger rope, and then you have the ring that goes inside the vice grips there, and you clamp the vice grips together. This is hard to do with one hand. There. So once the vice grips are clamped in, the ring will, it's nice and tight in there and won't come out until you pull the release trigger like that. Last but not least, here you have the counterweight assembly. It's quite simple to assemble, so you just kind of need some closer zoom-ins on it. So you got the holder that goes down on either side of the bar. It has all your weight on it. And then the holes in the holder will line up with the holes in the bar. So underneath that, you put the bolt through the holder, and put two washers on it, and then put the bar on. Put two washers on the other side, and then the holder again, and then the nut on the bottom holds it all together. And you do the same on the other side here, and then up on the tip here, you attach it here to the end of the throwing arm by putting one side of the holder on either side, and you put the nut through. I'm not going to do it with one hand, but here's what it looks like when it's done. As you can see, the holder fits in nicely on each side of the throwing arm, and you put the pin on, and then it hangs in like so. Make sure you have the safety in, because you don't want that falling while you're putting it in. And over here you see the trigger will go up a bit, and when you put the ring down, unlocked and locked in, then the arm bends a little, so that's why I don't really want to put any more than, this is 32 pounds on it, or else the arm might break. So if you have a stronger arm, you can probably put more weight. Otherwise, 30 is about as much as you can get to. And that's the entire assembly. And setup for launch will be in the next video.